What's up, coaches? In this video, I want to show you 5 simple things that you can install in season that can give you some big results. Now, I'm assuming that you've already installed your base offense, so these are just going to be some wrinkles or some crafty play calls that you can use in some critical situations. Most of these were in-season installs for me that I saw other teams running, and I found a way to easily incorporate them into my offense, and they quickly became go-to concepts in some situations. So I've got 5 different things that I want to show you, and if you want to grab a PDF copy of these afterwards so you can download them, there's going to be a link in the description. Let's dive in. All right, so first one here, I don't know exactly what this is called. I call it an under concept, and my code word for it is Texas. By the way, this is just a screen grab directly from my playbook, so this is how I present it to my players here. So I like to run this a lot from empty, and I think this really, it works best if you do it from empty. You can do it from a 3 receiver set, but you'd need to have some type of combination on the backside. If you're doing it from 3 receivers, you have a running back in the backfield. It doesn't really work the same if you just do like a slant flat. I don't really like that. That's too simple to defend. So I would say if you're going to do that, have some type of combination over here, maybe even include something with the Y, so you have a 3-man combination on the backside of the concept, and then this on the front side. But one thing that's important with this is keeping this Y in a whatever route you give him. It could be a vertical, it could be this little slant route, it could be an over route, anything where he's going to press and hold this mic from passing it off and working out. So that's going to be an important thing because we want to create the void here, right? This is really the huge benefit of this play. If you get a press man, of course you can always throw the slot fades. Those are really nice completions. But the thing that we're looking for is if we have a too high safety look, right? So say we get too high safety look, we want the Will and the Sam here, or nickel, however you want to call it, we want them to run with the number 2 receiver at least a little bit. So we want to just have that, like, get these guys to understand they're running this slot fade and they want to try and occupy this guy. Because what ends up happening, especially if you keep this number 3 vertical, is the mic ends up staying with this for at least a little bit. He's got to carry it a little bit because he's in this area. The Sam will try to get hands on number 2. So when they do that, it opens this slant underneath of this wide open. Okay, wide open. We've had so many touchdowns throwing this slant. Okay, field side I really like. Backside also works if you do it from empty. That's the benefit of empty and for me. But once this clears out, this underneath is an easy completion. Now, if you start to run this a lot, teams will say, okay, well, let's just pass this off a little bit more aggressively. Don't worry about this. The corner will take it. And that's where you see Colorado is the first team I saw doing this, but they were running that slot fade to comeback variation off of this. You could also break vertical as well, but really depends on what you're doing, how they're going to handle it with their safety. So that's something to keep in mind. This is a safer option because it directly solves the problem, right? The problem we present to the offense or to the defense is they have to press and get hands on 2. If they do that, we have the slant underneath wide open. The problem that they can say, okay, well, fine, we'll just pass it off and we'll have the corner take it. And then this comeback variation directly solves that. So one thing to keep in mind, you got to have a dude here who can make that throw because it's a field side comeback. It's not the easiest thing to do, so be cautious of that. And I would really only call this sparingly, and in situations where you know that this Sam will try to get pretty aggressive here. Because if he is aggressive and he runs with it, I'm talking wide open. I've never seen a receiver this wide open in the middle of the field with another route combination. So this one can be massive. And a little tip that we had our X use, Z not so much, but the X, because it was a tighter space, we'd have him hesitate a little bit and then break for that slant. So make sure that this wheel gets occupied with the T running vertical, hesitate, and then break under. It's a little bit of a rub route there, and then it's wide open on both sides here. All right, here is another one. If you're running any type of stick concept, so you've probably seen me talk about the stick concept. I love the stick concept. Something deep, whoops, messing things up here. Something here in this area, something in the flats, and something deep, right? So you need this triangle essentially. And I like building this triangle on the backside as well. I know a lot of teams will just run like a slant flat or something like that, or even a fade or whatever it is on the backside. I prefer to have 2 of these different triangles here. And then this variation with the slot fade is massive. To me, this is This is the best way to run stick. I've seen stick run a ton by a ton of different teams. Essentially, the big reason for this is, one, the stick is super easy to complete, especially if you give that option where they're just essentially finding space. We trust you to get open, right? Easy. If your quarterback and him can get on a good connection, that's really difficult to stop. The other thing is, if we get a one high safety look and we get man coverage, okay, this is good. Perfect for man coverage because it's a lot easier to throw than a field side fade to the Z. So the slot fade's an easier throw for the quarterback. And then if we do get a cover 3, that's why we convert this into a seam. So we still attack that space, okay? So that has a solution for cover 1 and cover 3. And then you also have on the backside here, I really like this. In a too high safety look, I really like this here. I think this is just an easy thing. The only thing you have to really be cautious about is this safety driving on the backside here. But if you're tightening up this alignment a little bit and then you run that as a speed drop cut, not a hard chop, and then I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd rather have it just be quick. So we beat this safety if he ever does decide to trigger. And if he's triggering real aggressively, then run a stutter and go, right? Just add a little trigger off of it. So that would be, I mean, in my offense, this would have been called essentially trips right, Eagles, and then if I wanted to do that, Eagles X trigger, right? Or Eagles trigger, and just make sure that they know that it's only for the X. But in general, I think this play in particular has solutions for so many things. I'd be hesitant to throw this. It's a field side hinge route. Not the easiest throw to make. Usually quarterbacks lob it a little bit, and that's really has potential to be jumped and intercepted here. So be cautious of that. When in doubt, always work this triangle right here. This is the easiest triangle to work, middle triangle. You'll see this, and I have other concepts, and you'll see this everywhere. It's in every single drive in college football, NFL. It's middle triangles, okay? Okay, so next thing here, if you're running any 4 verts, which most teams do run a 4 verts concept, tighten the X up and run a drag, okay? The reason for this is generally you're going to end up having linebackers who run with these verticals play side. So you can throw this X. I usually don't even have him settle. I like just having him run, and this really gives you a great option. If these guys clear out, it's really as simple as that. You run your 4 verticals, you can read it 1 to 2, and then have this check down here. Really only alert this at worst case scenario, or like as a jump off, you got a dude out there who you can throw that early. So like catch 1, 2, let it go, and it's a lob because it's again field side fade. Those are not the easiest, but what we're really looking to do here is clear out the middle of the field. Get this Mike to get out of here. He's not going to be there. So let's get this Mike to clear out of here, get the Sam to clear out, and run with this number 2 vertical. And then you have whoever your best athlete is here, you can put them there and give them the ball in space. That is hard to guard against, right? Once you get this guy, even though he might be able to come off, he can just outrun him, or he can make a move, make this guy miss. But essentially I want to give whoever my best athlete is the ball in space, okay, and let them work. That's the idea. Easy throw for a quarterback, simple read, right? Because it's, hey, we're not going to try and force anything here. If it's not there, you just take your check down, okay? That's your check down is your best athlete in space. That's a great check down to make. And then one thing you can do with this, you can also tag a wheel. You can tag an angle as well. I think that would be a really nice tag to this. So essentially you end up with this like trail type of concept, and then you could make this the check down. So it's 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, kind of working that a little bit of a box here, but that's an easy little thing. And essentially you just have your running back, delay, right? Get out here and then give a little bit of a wiggle and then make your break. Okay, that's the idea. Just get open again, and those are really good options here. So I've had a lot of success with this one. And essentially, it's just a tag, right? So you can tag whatever you want. In this case, we'd say trips right, verts, X drag. So it's pretty simple, not too difficult, and simple read. For the quarterback, you'll have a lot more success with this than I think you'd think. All right, now here is another variation of a verts that I wanted to give you, because this one was also a massive game changer for us. Put whoever's wiggly here, okay? Whoever's wiggly. And you're running your 4 verts, and you tell your quarterbacks, we're not looking to force anything, right? The primary thing that we're really looking to throw here is going to be this route here. So if you get it, right? If you get something that you like, you take it. End of discussion, right? But if it looks cloudy at all, if you don't like the matchup, you think the throw is a little bit more difficult, you're getting any type of pressure, whatever it is, don't force anything downfield. We know that this guy is going to win because these guys are going to clear out. The Mike's going to get out of here. Sam's going to get out of here. And it's basically a one-on-one with the will. So whoever this will is, if this is a good matchup, then this is something that I would call multiple times per game, and which I've done. And it's very difficult. They're gonna be in a tough situation, especially if you give this guy a two-way go, and if you even give him the ability to break after his first break, right? That's another thing. So that's why this quarterback has to take a little bit of time. You can drop back. It really, just kind of buying time. If these things look good, you fire it immediately. If not, then you're just waiting for this guy to get open. That's it. And then those are easy completions. Again, getting someone the ball in space. When you shift your mindset to how can I get this guy the ball in space? How can I get this guy the ball in space? If you're thinking like that, you'll come up with these little things. It's very simple, right? But it's super effective, okay? And this guy, if he makes this guy miss, the Mike's cleared out of here, he's running with this, safeties are occupied with everything, you might end up with a situation where this will, especially at lower levels, high school, like low-level college, he's going to catch it and he's going to be wide open. There's going to be no one around him for 15 yards. So then he can press vertical, get some extra yards after the catch. All right, now this one is not necessarily a play, okay? It's a tag. So I'm saying install this tag, and I'll show you different ways that you can use it. But this tag for me just tells my number 2 and my number 3 receivers to switch responsibilities. That's it. So if we're running 4 verticals, right, in this case, we had the Y, his responsibility is either going to be split the safeties if it's middle field open or get to the opposite hash 18, 22 yards, right? And number 2 in this case is he's got his seam landmark based on whatever hash we're on. So in this case, we just switch responsibilities. He's now taken this. Number 3 is taking the seam, and number 2 is taking this. Now, this might not look super fancy, but it's a little bit of a rub route. It also allows you to get into situations where you run this motion and you do this. You can also do this from a Y as a wing situation where he's going to be running this, and you have an outside zone attached with it. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can find variations that allow this guy to work up, and then that seam can hit pretty big. So this is really what we're looking for with this. Again, as with every single play in football, you define your progression and you stick to your progression. But you design the play assuming something is in particular, we're going to favor that. So play design wise, this number 3 route is what we're looking to target here. So this one is quite crafty and allows you to do a lot of different things with it. Now it's the swap tag, right? So in this case, we'd say trips right. In my case, I'd call this iron, trips right, iron, swap, okay? Now let's look at another variation. Here, this is a traditional bow concept, right? The dig, speed drop cut, important, okay? Dig, and the little spot route and out. So again, there's our middle triangle we talked about. One way we can also do this, we can say swap. So if this is the base, then if we say swap, the H would have the dig, and the Y would have essentially a stick, okay? So then again, we have that same thing, that same middle triangle, but we get there in a different way. So when you add that little swap tag, let me do that. If we add that swap tag here, that allows us to adapt a lot of our play calls. One note with this, of course, these guys have to be smart. These players have to understand what each other's full responsibility is. This is why I like to teach all my players, they know concepts, right? I teach this as the bow concept, okay? They know this as the 4 verts concept, okay? All these things, I teach concepts, I don't teach plays, okay? So in this case, if you have them know, okay, well, the bow concept, there's a dig, and there's this little spot and out. Okay, cool, now we're gonna trade responsibilities. What do you think is gonna happen? H, what do you think you're gonna do? Well, I'm probably gonna run the dig. Yep, good. Y, what do you think you're gonna do? You're probably gonna run the stick option. perfect, right? So you teach it in a way that it makes it really easy for them to understand, and then kind of it allows you to add these little tags without worrying too much about what they can handle. Here's another variation, okay? Simple drive concept. A lot of teams will run drive like this, right? The number 3, the inside man, would run the dig. The number 2 would run the drag, right? This allows you to swap and run this differently, okay? Just a little bit differently. Now, this variation, I mean, the benefit of this variation is that you get this, one, if this is your better athlete, then it gives him the ball in space, and it's also quicker to get there. It's quicker to get to this second read. So the quarterback's a little vision cone. He's here, and then immediately it's not even changing. He's still, this guy's getting into that window, and then we get to the dig afterwards, okay? And again, by the way, just in case you're curious, more middle triangles, okay? They're everywhere. All right, now last one here. This one is a fun one, okay? You will have a ton of success with this if you install it. Pretty simple, actually, because essentially it's just a full slide. Everybody's usually running a full slide. You go to the boundary side every single time. I like to do this. I mean, maybe you only install this to the right if you have a right-handed quarterback. So this would only be when we're on the left hash. We would never run this if we're on the right hash. We wouldn't flip it, okay? There's an example of Tua was doing that, and he had to roll to his right as a lefty, threw the ball, and the defensive end was able to tip it and knock it down. That's not going to happen if you have a right-handed quarterback, because they can just sidearm it and make that throw. So the idea behind this is we're going to have our hitches here, and those are both gifts. GT means my offense is gift. I have one of them here, alert. This right here is an alert, okay? But right here, these are gifts. So if somebody gives you a gift, you take it, okay? So if we have it, great, let's take it. If it looks cloudy, no worries, we have the screen on the other side. Now this has to be completed quick. That's why we don't make these routes any deeper, because we are blocking downfield, right? And it depends on where this T is at. Maybe he catches it behind the line of scrimmage, and if so, then you have the ability to do anything that you want on this side. Maybe you have it be a fade out, any two-man combination where you can catch, step, make a decision. If it's not there, then it's a mini roll, half roll, to avoid this defensive end because he is unblocked, okay? Generally what happens is when tackles step down or they slide away, usually they squeeze, okay? So that's another thing to think about. So if he presses like purely vertical, this might make this throw a little bit more difficult, and you're gonna have to tell your quarterback to get out of there, get a little bit of depth, and then dump it off here. It's got to be an accurate throw. If your quarterback can't make this throw, then I wouldn't recommend running this. Just, there's a ton of things you can do running the ball. I have videos for duo, outside zone, inside zone, power, all that stuff on here. So double down on that. But this is a pretty simple throw, and we always want to make sure, look at this real quick, the detail, okay, of this. I don't draw them going straight to. Okay, if you look at where he's going outside release first, and then he is going to make this block. All right, so we want outside leverage. We want outside leverage with this, and then we can get the ball in space here. And then you can teach us however you want. Maybe you want to have him work inside. Maybe you want to just have him attack and take wherever. It doesn't really matter. But in this case, one of the most important blocks here, anytime you're running a bubble or you're running a flat route, anything like that, be detailed with this, okay? Make sure that they know we're taking outside leverage. So essentially it works: catch, step, if it's there, take it. If not, half roll, dump it off to the running back, full slide by the offensive line. Pretty simple. We called this just T Amy. So for us, this was spread right T Amy. Amy was our flat Amy, fat Amy. It was a weird play on words, but we had our route was play side. So in this case, because it was spread right, we called Amy was going to the right side. If we'd said spread left, then the T would be over here and it'd be going here. So everybody else would flip as well, right? That's the way that it would work in my offense. But you can run that however you'd like. You can use whatever terminology. I'm just giving you an idea of what it could look like. All right, so hopefully this gives you some ideas for play calls, but the biggest difference in your wins and loss column is not gonna be play design. It's the way that you handle all the other little details, like the way that you set up your practice, how well you game plan, how you set up your play calls and layer your offense, and how you develop your athletes. Generally, coaches get stuck with the everyday grind in season, but if they were to dedicate just a few minutes every single day of studying, this could make a massive difference. I've personally seen this in myself, but I've also helped a ton of other coaches who've gone through my 21-day OC course during the season. So I highly recommend checking that out so you can maximize your effectiveness. The easiest way to win games is to get better in every single area, which is exactly what this course is all about. You can find the link for that somewhere on the screen and also in the description below. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.